Margaret, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay.
All right. So call to order. I see you and I and Chris Quinn. Do we have anyone else?
I think I saw Deani on here. Yeah,
Yep, I
Deani's on
see
here
Deani.
too.
Great. So we have a quorum. And Catherine is not with us tonight. So let's call this meeting of the Town of Green Mountain Falls Regular Board of Trustees meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you if you're a Star Trek fan, a Star Wars fan. Time is 7:03. If you'll please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda as presented? Have none, and seeing none, I would move to approve this agenda.
Second.
If there are no objections, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
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 And Deani, do you have any opposition?
No, I said aye.
Well, thank you. I didn't hear you. That motion passes. The next item on the agenda is public comment for persons present who are not on the agenda. Let me remind the public, I will call you one at a time. The time limit is 3 minutes. If you have something essentially to say as the previous person, please just say, I agree with that person, in order to be conscious of our time. Rick Langenberg.
So can I just interject here, Rick? Would you like us to just read the comments that you emailed?
Can you guys hear me at all?
We can hear you. Would you like Margaret to read the comments you emailed?
No, that's all right. I just have some concerns. That's a all right. Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So you do want her to read it, or do you want to go ahead?
No, I just have some concerns about it. I just think we're moving a little too fast on this. That's basically what it is. Yeah. Yeah, Margaret, you can read it if you want. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it.
Let me find it real fast. I highlighted it. I printed it and highlighted it. So let me find it real fast.
All right.
And I'll read your email, at least the comment portion verbatim, okay?
All right.
Because I have to find it.
All right, I think I already copied it.
Just so the public knows, Rick had sent
Before
us
my
a
side, I just want to make it clear, though. This is as a resident, though, not as,
Correct.
Right. Okay.
Oh, you know what? I printed the email and I probably left it on my desk. Let me jump into my emails real fast to find it.
Right.
Okay, well, why don't we come back to you? And again, just so the public knows, Rick wrote a thoughtful email, and I know that sometimes it's hard for people to hear Rick, and we just want him to be represented correctly. Not to silence you in any way, but just to make sure that people...
No, that's fine, yeah.
Okay, so we'll come back when Margaret finds that email. Rocco, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, thank you. Rocco Blasi, 10955 Belvedere. Trustees, are you listening?
Indeed.
No, are you really listening? The Pantry, The Mucky Duck, Tie-Dye Java, Painted Bear, Stones, Bones, Wood, Blue Moose, dozens of Green Mountain Falls residents and property owners. What do they all have in common? Somebody has a hot mic. What do they all have in common? The vast majority of our community opposes paid parking. Look no further than the petition submitted to you on February 2nd to keep parking free in our town. Consider local journalism, consider social media, comments on Facebook. Our voice or opinion did not seem to matter or be heard. Anyone listening? Question mark. The parking surveys are a sham. I will support GMF no more. This is a big bummer. So the petition didn't mean anything. Horrible idea. Who made that decision? Who did not listen? And finally, public service. We don't elect people to rule or even lead us. We elect people to serve us. Has this concept been lost? So I'm absolutely not in favor of paid parking. Let's set aside the fact that all the town's businesses and dozens of property owners urge you to keep parking free in our community. When reviewing the 105 pages of tonight's agenda dedicated to paid parking, one word comes to mind: incomplete. The proposal fails to address the many details I would think you as trustees would need to make an informed decision. What are the pros and cons of paid parking? There is nothing in this 105 pages related to that. Is generating revenue why you're considering this? There are 0 revenue projections included. Why cause this upheaval without having clear data to guide your decision? Debate, discuss, disagree. God forbid you disagree. Prove to our town that there's a functioning representative democracy and weigh the pros and cons of this decision openly in your time tonight. Thank you for keeping an open mind.
All right, thank you. Carolyn Bauer. Carolyn, are you on?
I'm not, yes, Jane, yes, Mayor Newberry. This just has a question to, I guess, Ms. Brand. I forgot to ask you yesterday, how many contractors actually submitted bids for this, for Green Mountain Falls marriage paid parking?
All right, we can address that when we get to the parking presentation. Thank you, Carolyn.
Hey, Jane, I have Rick's email up.
All right, Margaret, if you want to go ahead and make that statement
Okay.
on behalf of Rick.
Okay, so it says, below are the comments I sent to the clerk's office. I wish to speak at tonight's meeting as a 20-year-plus resident. For the record, very disappointed that the town is moving forward with this and have concerns about conflict of interest, public transparency, and turning Green Mountain Falls into a big city/resort area with an invasion of needless rules. This plan could turn the good residents of this town and our friendly visitors into parking criminals. Most people around town think this plan is outlandish. Don't believe me, then you need to get out and talk to the real people of GMF and not rely on surveys. These are my opinions as a resident. Plus, there has been no real dialogue with local businesses on this. Stating this now, as we'll try to speak tonight, but as I think most of you know, I have a slight voice disability and people sometimes can't understand me. But above are my main comments. Propose at the least a delay in the process and a community meeting with business owners and residents. What is the rush?
All right, Rick, does that represent you?
Yeah, that was, you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, that's real good. Yeah, I'd like to emphasize, I think we do need a community meeting with residents and business owners on this. Because even with the proposal, it's very confusing for residents how they get permits. You know, and I think there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think we need to slow down the process a little bit. And that's all I'm gonna say right now, yeah.
All right, thank you, Rick. Thanks, Margaret.
All right, all right.
Lamar?
Good evening. I'm going to talk fast. I have a lot to cover. I compared the parking agreement from the meeting of mid-February to the parking agreement that is in our packet with the date, today's date on it. We are able to get out of this agreement if we're not happy with it, only if either party has failed to perform any of the terms and conditions in this contract, which sounds good, except there's not very many terms and conditions for the company to follow. There's huge changes in differences in these contracts. The previous contract provided a deposit to the bank's, the town's bank account of the gross receipts. And then they would provide statements to us, and then we would pay them. The new contract has gross receipts going to the company, and the town receives the net along with a statement. This is in 3.3. That is an opportunity for some mistakes that it would be hard for the town to find when we don't have the gross amount. The old contract also, we had the right to withhold payment if we thought it was incorrect, the statement was incorrect or incomplete. We also had the right to be reimbursed if town staff spent time on equipment or issues that the company should have managed, and we had that right at $50 an hour. We no longer have that right. Our new contract in 4.1 points out that they will screen employees. In the old contract, they were doing criminal and drug screening. I would love to know why it was removed, that we no longer are doing criminal, or the company will no longer do criminal or drug screening, and they're no longer obligated by contract to do so. They were also obligated to do a monthly log of complaints and provide that to the town and notify the town if these monthly complaints were not resolved. That is no longer an obligation of the company. It was very clearly delineated in previous contracts, all the things that the company was required to do, and they are including residential, commercial, etc. No longer there.
All right, Lamar, you are out of time. David Douglas?
Good evening. David Douglas, 11145 Hondo Avenue. There are many things that I expect from government, but the two that I want to talk about tonight are that I expect government to understand the will of those who have elected them, to act on the will of those who elected them, and to do so with transparency. With respect to the parking issue before the board and being considered tonight, I feel that our board of trustees has failed in both counts. I don't think that the board of trustees has taken into consideration the will of the voters and citizens and residents of Green Mountain Falls, nor do I believe that the evidence that I've looked at over the last few months, that there's been full transparency. And Lamar Matthews just mentioned some of the issues of changes to the contract that were presented earlier this year, and now we're looking at something totally different. We had a study done that had 6 recommendations that the board adopt a resolution of an official parking plan, adopt a resolution on an official signage plan. The board would consider adopting a resident-only parking plan. The town board would work with the Trails Committee to set up a Trails Welcome Center. And I could go on with the rest of them. The fact is, I don't know tonight whether any of those things have been done because I don't see evidence, first of all, of an official parking plan anywhere. I don't see anywhere that says that we're going to have a residential parking area. When we did our survey, it was by no means a mandate, if you even accept the fact that it was well done, which it wasn't. There was no mandate for paid parking. There was an indication that people were open to it, but with certain reservations. And those reservations were that it did not have an effect on our town in terms of it being a welcoming place to visit, that it would provide and assure the residents that they would have free parking privileges, that there would be designed and designated residential spaces. None of those have been addressed in any of the documents that I've seen. We don't even know what the cost to park is, or what the process is to get a parking permit. I hope that the Board of Trustees slows it down, as Rick said, and let's get some of the things done that need to be done before we go flying into adopting this current contract that's proposed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Judith Piazza.
Hi, everybody. Judith Piazza, 11160 Belvedere. And so grateful for everything that's been done. I know there's been a lot of time and energy spent. And Lamar, I'm so grateful to hear that somebody has gone through these contracts. I have not read everything, but what I can tell you is that I am so completely disturbed that it's come to this point, and that the feeling is that this will be approved tonight and it would start tomorrow on this paid parking. We had already spoken to a managed parking program that has not been rolled out yet or put in place, but there's a lot of energy behind a managed parking without being a paid parking. That hasn't been tried. There was a decision months ago. I believe it was Trustee Liu who okayed the movement towards more research, with the idea that this would be an experiment, a trial for 3 months. And now we're looking to sign a contract for 2 years. Like, this is unconscionable to me. This is so disturbing because I feel like the whole flavor of Green Mountain Falls will be affected. The whole ambiance of our small town will be affected, and we all are part of that. So do you really want to be the Board of Trustees that does that to Green Mountain Falls? I'm asking you sincerely, do you really want to be those people when you have every person spoken so far on this tonight? But of course, there's been months and months of feedback that paid parking is not desirable in our town. Every business signed a petition stating that they did not want to see paid parking. Do you really want to be the Board of Trustees to enact such a drastic change of flavor for Green Mountain Falls? I also want to ask that private anonymous voting be considered, because I feel like there's many, many reasons. I won't go into them specifically, but there's many reasons that someone might choose to vote differently if it was anonymous on the Board of Trustees. So thank you for hearing me, and I'll pass from there.
Thank you, Judith. And finally, Ben Stevens. Ben, are you on tonight?
I am not seeing Ben.
All right, well, let's move ahead then.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor Newberry.
Yes,
Looks like Todd Dixon also wished to speak as well.
Todd, please go ahead.
Howdy, everyone. Todd Dixon, 11045 Iona Avenue. I looked through the packet tonight, and I also have a handful of comments. The first one I noticed, there appeared to be a discrepancy between the proposal and the agreement as far as the hours of operation. You may want to think about getting those aligned to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then I wasn't really clear on the scope of the area overseen by the parking company. I was curious if it was downtown only or if it was the entire town. It'd be nice to have that clarified. And then I was also looking at resident permits. I went and looked at Idaho Springs stuff, and you know, a lot of our property owners are out of state and whatnot. It appears that out of state property owners may not be able to get a resident parking permit. And I was curious if there was a proposal for out of state property owners, or will they be required to purchase visitor permits? And similarly, we have people that own property under an LLC or trust. And so it'd be potentially a similar situation with that. I actually have a suggestion. I was kind of thinking we could create a property owner permit. We're both local, and out-of-state property owners can supply information, and out-of-state owners could possibly even simply just get something from like the El Paso County assessor, like a screenshot that shows their name is in the assessor's office. And then, you know, for those properties that are owned by LLCs or trust, in addition to like a screenshot from the assessor's office, then they'd have to supply something that would actually show that they're part of the LLC or trust. And I know we've had things like K1s for partnership or something like that that may be able to do that. And we may be able to accommodate the out-of-state property owners as well, because that's about half our property ownership here. And then is there a maximum number of resident/property owner permits that a property owner can have? And then I actually just encourage getting clarification on things just prior to contract signing. And then once the contract's signed, it'd probably be a good idea to get a letter out to all the property owners. That's all I had.
Thanks, Todd. We have Brandy Morales, and then we need to close this portion because we actually need to swear in one of our officers.
Oh, we better hurry and swear them in.
Pardon me, Ben? Are you
Hello?
on?
I don't know, am I? I'm trying.
I have tried to call
I've been
on
trying. I've been pushing the wrong button, I guess. Jane, I'm just never done this before, to tell you the truth.
All right, so you have 3 minutes for public comments, then Brandy
All right.
Morales, and then we will move on with the agenda.
You say I'm next?
You are next.
Okay, my name is Ben Stevens, the Pantry Restaurant. As you all know, we've been closed partially and not able to run for over a year. Now, we're barely made it through that. I've already had at least 25% of my customers say they refuse to pay any kind of parking. They won't be back. If I lose 10% of my customers, the pantry's done. And you can't sell the pantry with the way things are going in this town. You can't sell it. So it's going to be an empty building, you guys. And I hope that's worth it to you. And I hope that whatever tax money I do bring in for that town, I hope you can do without it. And I hope your parking makes up for it. And I have a couple of other little things. And if you do this or whatever, can I leave my truck there? Is it going to have to be moved? And are you going to give any employee parking to me? Or are my employees going to have to pay $35 a day? How is this going to go down for the businesses? You've never spoken to me about it. I've never had a memo. I've never had a newsletter, nothing. Can you help me? Inform me, Jane, please.
I'll be happy to do that. I need to wait to that portion of the agenda. But yes, I think we have answers to the majority of your questions for sure.
And does that include making up the 25% I'm gonna lose on customers? You have an answer for that one?
I can answer what I can answer.
All right. Thanks for your time.
All right.
Sorry, but, you know, I'm losing a business I've had for 20 years because of some kind of parking thing. I don't know what you guys are trying to make money, what you're trying to do with it, how much money you think you're gonna make. I don't understand.
Then
Like you need more money for what? You
okay.
guys don't, there's nothing going on in that town as far as projects.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
We
Brandy
definitely aren't
Morales.
Breckenridge, not even close. They got a $500 million budget. Thank you.
Thanks, Ben. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Brandy, you're
Okay.
next.
I'll stand by.
All right.
This is Brandy Morales. I'm at 6978 Howard Street. First of all, I understand we all have some great concerns over the massive parking and hiking problems that we experienced this last year. Let's all recognize that to a certain extent that was a one-off. We have seen an increase in traffic over the last few years in parking. I'm right by one of the trailheads or the way up to it. So I see it every day. But when we first started talking about this, there were a number of other options that were presented. And I would like the town to try these out first before we move into the parking. I am adamantly opposed to paid parking. I agree that it would change the flavor of this town, and we'd actually, well, we stand the risk of turning into another Manitou Springs, and that is someplace that a number of people have started boycotting, and it's really affected their businesses because when they first started their paid parking, it was relatively cheap. It's gone up and up and up because they decided they liked the revenue, and it's a slippery slope. It's one that I hope I do not see Green Mountain Falls fall into. Going along with that revenue, if we do enact this, can we please make sure that we're including in the free parking our neighbors in Cascade and Woodland Park? These are their trails as much as they're ours. And the cap on the entire day parking, I think, was set at $35. That's exorbitant. It's absolutely ridiculous. I understand that $2 an hour, which again, for hikers that are going up for multiple hours, that can get really expensive, prohibitively expensive for people that are looking for something that's affordable to just go enjoy nature. And finally, I don't feel that the town has actually been listened to, or that the people in this town have been given a chance to express this. Yes, we find out about these Zoom meetings. Some people can attend, some people don't have the technology or the time to. How are you going to actually ask all of the citizens of this town what they want to do with this for something that will impact the town for the rest of time? I mean, because really, this is a 2-year test program, but who pays to take them out? That never happens. If they get put in, they're probably going to stay. And then the whole demeanor of the town will change from here on out. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Brandy. The next item on the agenda is consent agenda, which is accounts payable for April 2021 and the Board of Trustees meeting minutes from April 6th. Does anyone on the board have any questions or something they'd like to bring out for discussion? All right, seeing none, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion passes. The next item on the agenda is we have a police officer oath. We do need to swear in this officer. Sandoro, are you on? There you are.
Yes. Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Well, ordinarily we would stand and end with shaking hands. So if you want to stand.
Yep, I can stand.
Thank you very much. We will have your oath of office. Repeat after me, please. Raise your right hand. I, Sandora Ocelli, do solemnly swear or affirm
I, Sandora Ocelli, do solemnly swear on affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I support the Constitution of the United States
and of the state of Colorado
and the state of Colorado
and the ordinances of the town of Green Mountain Falls,
and the ordinance of town Gray Mountain Falls,
and will faithfully perform the duties
and will thankfully perform my duties
of police officer.
as a police officer.
All right, Sandora, thank you very much. Congratulations. You're one of the town now.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Sandra. It's good to have you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thanks. Thank you.
We're glad you're here. You're welcome to stay, but you don't have to.
Thank you very much. I need to go. I appreciate it. You
All
guys
right.
have a wonderful evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Item 6 is our managed parking presentation. We're starting off with item A, the managed parking memo. Angie, why don't you take control of this presentation and we'll go from there.
Mayor Newberry, Angie just texted me and let me know that she got kicked out. Really inconvenient timing. So I'm waiting for her to get back in. I'll let her in right away.
All right. Those things happen. Finding the right page myself.
Should I put on the theme song from Jeopardy right now? Dun, 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 dun.
Appropriate.
All right, I think we got Angie back.
All right. Angie, are you on?
I am, Madam Mayor.
All right, we've just introduced item 6, and I've asked if you would take the lead in introducing this with the parking staff memo.
Absolutely. So the memo was prepared for the board and the public, hopefully to give a good background on the project and show everyone how we got to where we are today. We have been working since the first meeting with the town staff and the consultant, and then the initial stakeholders group. We've been working for the last 10 months on this project. So this is a general outline here of every step that we've taken in the project. We did do extensive community outreach. We conducted a survey which came back with statistically significant results showing support for a managed parking plan. But it's all there in the memo. I'm not gonna bore you too much with what's in the memo. There is an executive summary of the parking management agreement. There, just a little bit further down on the memo. Right up a little more. Right there. So we've got the highlights of this would be that there's a 50-50 split in the revenues. So they take the gross, and then if there's anything, you know, the only thing that comes out of that before the revenue is split would be like credit card fees. There is a 2-year term of 24 months for this contract. The town does have final say on rates, hours, operations per sections 4 and 8 of the contract. They're going to carry insurance required, and that is adequate. It's been reviewed. This has all been reviewed by our attorney. Also, I think it's really important to note that we did discuss the opportunity to have an out clause, and it was actually a 90-day out clause. However, they are making a considerable investment in the town. This is at zero cost to the town government, and they're investing upwards of $200,000 in kiosks and equipment, parking-related signage, and then to get everything up and running. So we do want to create a mutually beneficial, positive relationship with anybody that we partner with. And that's why you see the contract that's there before you today. We do have the final draft of the agreement and the ordinance for your consideration today. And if you have any questions, let me know. Without further ado, though, I would like to introduce Interstate Parking. We have Gareth Lloyd on and Jessica H. I'm not going to pronounce her last name correctly, so just I'll avoid butchering that. But they do have a presentation for you here today. And I'll turn things over to them.
Great, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Gareth Lloyd. We started this company in Colorado roughly 5 years ago. The presentation's pretty long, and I'll give you just sort of a quick overview. Do you have the ability to change the pages?
Yes, I do, Gareth. Just let me know when.
Super. So just a quick overview. We're Colorado based. I live in Evergreen. Jessica lives in Denver. We have about 70 locations in Colorado. We also operate in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Fargo. We love Colorado. We love working with our clients, whether they be ski resorts, municipalities, or private entities. And we try to come up with solutions that work for everyone in the communities, resorts, private entities that we work with. That's really our goal. And I've been doing this for about 25 years. Jess, do you want to just give a quick overview?
Yeah, so I'm Jess. I am originally from Biloxi, Mississippi. Moved to Colorado about 6 years ago with Gareth to start up our Interstate Parking Colorado operations. I've been doing this for probably 15 years and excited for the opportunity here if that deems necessary for everybody. But like Gareth said, we are always looking for the solutions to benefit each town that we work in.
Cool. So if you want to go to the first slide, that'd be great, please. So really, if you pull yourself back, our goal is to create a solution for the community that works for residents, businesses, visitors, and based on feedback we receive from the community. So, and hopefully end up with a solution. And it takes time based on the feedback we received tonight. There's a lot of different ideas and thought processes on how to do things. We never come in and say, we're going to do it this way. That's why in the agreement, the town has the ultimate say on, rates, hours of operation. We've talked about all residents will receive free permits. All employees will receive free permits. The first 2 hours are free, and then the next hour is $2. So you can literally park, I think most visitors to establishments will be under 2 hours, but if you so choose to stay longer, you're likely going to max out at 3 hours. It would cost $2. Really, the goal is, if you want to go to the next slide, is to brand ourselves, as the community. These are just potential logos. Generally, what we'll do is we'll We've got the name, for example, Park Green Mountain Falls. We create a website that becomes a conduit for the community for mobility. For example, on there we'll have, I know everybody's working right now on new trailhead maps. We'll have QR codes on all our signage with the new trailhead maps, so people will be able to go up with their phones and grab the trailhead maps. They also, on all our signage, website, etc., branding, our employees, there's also QR codes so you can give us feedback right away on things we can improve and whatnot. But if you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, I mean, that's our size. You know, we're privately owned. We work with a lot of municipalities. We have great references. You're welcome to talk to anyone we work with. Really, you know, we're from Colorado. We love our state. We love the lifestyle. And we've continually, whether it's Breckenridge or Keystone Resort or Breckenridge Ski Resort, we've just tried to come up with solutions that work for everyone. We're all about consensus, team building, and working together. If you want to go to the next slide. Through our experience in Colorado, we've developed quite an extensive team of what we think are great people who understand the importance of customer service. And ultimately what happens is our ambassadors become people who get to know your community. You know, if somebody needs to ask where the duck is, the pantry, the gazebo, the trailhead, the ATM, how to get to Colorado Springs, our people are on the streets and they really are ambassadors for the community, and they become part of the community. And, you know, to the point where what happens is we have a phone number for all residents and businesses, so that if, you know, a resident can't find a parking space or an employee can't find a parking space, we'll do our utmost to find a space. If there's a special event one weekend and, you know, you need some extra spaces for the pantry or the duck or whatever, we're all about customer service. We understand ultimately that if the residents and the employees and the businesses and the community aren't happy, then our solution's not working. If you want to go to the next slide. Yeah, that just gives a quick overview of our locations in Colorado. We can go to the next one. Yeah, so a big part of what we do is outreach, like we're doing tonight. The solution we've proposed, I think, is a pretty cool solution. There's no upfront cost for the town. First 2 hours are free for a visitor. The next hour is $2, and then it goes up from there. And the idea is that, and what we've done in other communities is that we want to turn the parking spaces. From all the studies, you know, you've got roughly 250 spaces. You know, there were vehicles that were sitting in those spaces. There was sometimes on a Saturday and Sunday 60 to 70 vehicles that were sitting in those spaces for up to 6 to 7 hours. So that means those spaces aren't being used for people to, you know, visit the restaurants, visit the stores, enjoy the gazebo, enjoy the lake, all those things. So we're really all about, you know, trying to accomplish what the community wants to accomplish. And, you know, in Breckenridge, for example, when we started, their spaces were turning once a day to 1.5 times a day. They currently turn 5 to 7 times a day. So restaurants are now, and stores and the library, the visitor center are now seeing 5 times as many people over the course of the day, spread out pretty evenly by the parking program, which is just great for the community. It's a win, you know, it's a win-win for everybody, because, you know, little communities like yours are just so beautiful. And, when people can't enjoy them, it just creates frustration for everyone. And often people will turn and go somewhere else. So we're really about, listening, helping. What we're saying right now probably will change in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 5 months. It's a continually evolving process. And it's really about the continual outreach to our ambassadors and to Jessica, myself, and our managers. And we're really all about that. Next slide, please. Jess, do you want to just talk about some of the feedback we've gotten in some of our communities?
Yeah, so basically, just to give you an overview on what we've done in other communities, is that we have set up at Town Hall for about a month straight, just so people can register. If you're an employee or a resident, get you registered there. It's an easy process. You don't have to go online, and we can get you registered. We can meet you, and then just kind of give everybody the general overview of what that would look like going forward. Initially, like when we started several locations, everybody's kind of in an uproar to get them going. However, now that they realize they have space in their own community and like within their residential zones, it's been pretty amazing, just because our ambassadors are able to save their residents a space and do all of those things to make it worthwhile for everybody. We've kind of put some feedback just from some other communities here and kind of give you examples of what we've kind of done. And that's the same thing we would do there, just kind of outreach to the community, get everybody set up on their own terms, and we would set up whenever needed at Town Hall or wherever we needed to go.
Cool. Next slide, please. We've done a lot of this, so we have implementation programs, all branding, website, signage, technology, uniforms, training, outreach. We've basically been through it all, and we cover all those costs, and we've got experience with it. So we've been pretty successful with these programs. Next slide, please. Just a quick note on the websites. You're welcome to check out any of them, but they do really become a real conduit for the community for communication. Just recently in Breckenridge, they had the mobile vaccines for COVID, and the town actually asked us to put a blurb about it on the site, and the town really thought that we drove the number of visits to that mobile vaccination site, just because people are so used to using the website for information. We've had over 700,000 visits to the Breck Park website. So it becomes a very effective tool, and the town, controls all the branding, the verbiage, the wording, and whatnot. They're very useful websites, and they have a greater use to the town for sure, at no cost. Next slide, please. There were some questions about permitting and whatnot. We make it really easy. Basically, residents just provide a proof of a bill or whatnot for their residents. Employees can provide a pay stub or a letter from their employer. There's no cost. We register the license plate, and basically you're good to go. In Breckenridge, we probably have over 3,000 permits. At Solitude Ski Resort in Utah, we have about 2,000. So very effective system. The nice thing is you don't need a hang tag on your car. You just register, and basically you're good to go. Next slide, please. Yeah, that's a little bit more about the permits. So I think we can go on to the next one. Yeah, I saw one comment. It's about profits. Our name is everything. We're a small company. It's my name. It's Jessica's name. If you speak to any of our clients, We are a for-profit company, but it's really it's about our name and our word. And you know, when you pull yourself back and look at this, when the first 2 hours are free, and the next hour is $2, and you know, residents are free, employees are free. There's not going to be a lot of revenue in this, but at the same time, I think we can really help the community, and I honestly believe that in 3 months, you know, the residents and the businesses and the employees are going to really value what we do, because what we'll do is we'll turn spaces for businesses, we'll protect spaces for residents and employees. And for the most part, you know, visitors will pay, if they pay anything, it might be $2. So we've had a lot of success with this, with the turnover and the management. So I think it's a great idea for you guys. I know there's been there's always aversion to change, but we've had a lot of success with this, and we really believe in it.
Hey, Derek,
Next slide.
I have a question here. Sorry, this is
Sure.
Angie.
Sure.
Well, do you want to hold questions till the end of your presentation?
Sure. How much longer do I have, just so I know?
I think, let's see where we're at. Matt, do you see how much time, when was this supposed to be done on the thing?
Oh, around 8:30.
So we got plenty of time.
Okay, cool.
About that, 10 minutes, 20 minutes for questions?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. I probably only need 10 minutes. I'd like to just talk to people as much as we can. So
yeah, absolutely. Take your time.
yeah, if we can just get to that next slide. Yeah, so we just, you know, we look at the community. You know, we've looked at your community. We've started to talk about the possibilities, for example, with the church parking also. One of the advantages is that we often, through relationships and the success of our program, parking space that's not currently being used for businesses and for employees and for visitors becomes available. So for example, the church has mentioned that they might be interested. So I know I've been there last year on a weekend, and there's just no parking space. So we often work with different groups to increase the number of spaces. So beyond the turnover of space, we do find other alternatives that increase the capacity, so that, you know, ultimately the goal on a Saturday and Sunday in the middle of July is that at any time somebody can come there and find a parking spot so they can enjoy the town, so we're not turning anyone away. And once that becomes common knowledge, it'll drive you know, visitation and opportunities for all. Next slide, please. Yeah, you know, we use all kinds of different technologies. Really, we use the kiosks. The two big ones are the kiosks. They're completely solar powered. They're paperless. Really, we are a green solution. We have a hybrid vehicle. So when you're driving around town, it's basically running on the battery. Tap and Explore is basically the QR codes that would have the trailhead maps also on them. And those are, you just take a picture just like you do when you go to the Duck to get the menu. You just take a picture and you can make the payment or register for the free 2 hours of parking. So we love technology in that it just makes everything easy. And we're using this at over 70 locations across Colorado. Next slide, please. Yeah, you know, I've talked about it, but the goal is to, you know, maximize the use of space. You know, if you think about it on a Saturday and Sunday, if instead of having 300 visitors, you can get upwards of 700 to 1,000, I think the whole, you know, community benefits from that. And at the same time, you know, there's no cost to the community. Hopefully we'll generate a little bit of revenue for the community. And, you know, employees will have parking and residents will have parking at no cost. Next slide, please. These are just examples of different technologies that we use. We do have the ability to reserve a space in advance. It's not something I would recommend right now, but over time, as it evolves and we get to know the community better, there's all kinds of things that, we would recommend. The beauty of our agreement is the town controls everything from rates to hours of operations to signage to branding to our employees. There was mention about our employees. The town has a say, the ultimate say on all employees. So if they're unhappy with somebody, we will remove them. We've got a track record now of through our operations, probably about 50 to 70 employees working full time for us. We've got some great people. The goal would be to bring some of our people to the town and then train somebody locally. And the biggest thing we train on is the ambassador. So knowing the town, knowing what makes the pantry happy, makes the duck happy, what makes the church happy, makes the gazebo happy, all those things are probably the number one priority on our list. Next slide, please. We do a lot of training, like we were just talking about. So when we do find someone locally, they'll go through our program, and it's really about creating a fantastic first and last impression. So we want everybody that comes to town to have an amazing experience when they come to Green Mountain Falls. We were talking to Virgil earlier today. If somebody was to receive a citation and for whatever reason the town deemed that it should be voided or whatnot, Virgil will have the power to take care of it. Our goal through signage, the website, branding, and our people is that 98% of people understand what to do and how to do it. Initially, we would start off with just a warning program just to get people to understand the system. But really, that side of the business is very nominal. And when you have a situation where it's the first 2 hours are free and the third hour is $2, people coming from Denver or Texas or Colorado Springs, they usually find that pretty fair and reasonable. So really our compliance is in the 98% to 99% range. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is just about all the things we do. Jess, do you want to talk a little bit about this in terms of Smile Engage and our brand values?
Yes, our guys on the street, which are our ambassadors, they're all about the Smile Engage Help program, and that's what we've all been trained upon. Is we're going to meet people, engage them, and help them. It's not necessarily about managed parking. It's about, hey, like, where can I find this trailhead? Where can I do these things? And that's what we've done in other communities. And we just help people and just be the local ambassadors. We pick up trash on the streets, do whatever we can to make it feel more like a community to everyone. And like, that's our team. And that's kind of what we've been trained upon. And that's what we train upon. And then, like, for instance, if you see there's contact forms. We have comment forms. Scan a QR, leave us a message. We'll respond to it. And we can just kind of generate feedback right on the spot.
And we also have a customer care center that's included, and they're available basically 24/7 for any questions that residents, businesses might have to help you with anything. It's great if you want to let us know about a wedding at the gazebo or something, a street festival or anything to that effect, or a large hiking event or anything like that. You can contact us, and we'll work with Angie and Virgil to come up with a plan to make sure that the town's ready for whatever's coming. Next slide. Thanks. Here's an overview of our proposal. If you get down to the nuts and bolts, really, the town has ultimate say on everything we do. I've been doing this for 25 years. Jess has been doing this for 15 years. So we got a lot of experience. We cover the cost of the kiosk, the signs, the employee training, uniforms, anything and everything basically involved in the operation of the town. We pay for that up front because we believe in what we do. And our goal really is, 3 months from now, and we sincerely believe this, that all residents and businesses and visitors will say, this is the best thing you've ever done. Jess, do you have anything else you can think of?
I've just been kind of seeing a little bit of the chat here and there, just kind of following along with the presentation. But one of the main things is like it looks like loss of Wi-Fi and connectivity issues in town. However, what we've done in the past is just provide boosters for the town within our kiosk or within our ambassadors. We'll have boosters to boost that cell service. And we've seen that very effective within other communities.
Yeah, so just final comment is we're a local Colorado company and we consider it an honor to work with you guys, and we'd love to move this forward and work with you and listen to you, and in 3 months hear some great feedback on what we've done.
Thank you guys so much for just coming and presenting and being willing to just discuss with the board and the community the services that you could provide. And it's a really tailored program. I wonder if we could just go through some of the chat questions. Maybe I could just read off a few, and then there's how do summer residents register? And I think you did touch on that in your presentation.
So anybody can register online. They can come by town hall, wherever you want to. It's an easy, accessible registration 24/7. Town hall, we would probably set certain hours and parameters, but you can register online via smartphone, your computer, whatever, 24/7.
Thank you. The next question is, the split net revenue split is listed as 50-50. Can you tell us what the split for Breck, Idaho, and Keystone is?
Yeah, I can't really do it for Keystone because that's a private company. Breckenridge is on a flat management fee. This is a totally different structured deal. They purchased all the equipment. They purchased all the signage. I mean, it's public knowledge. We charge them a management fee of just over $60,000 a month. Idaho Springs, we're on a month-to-month agreement there right now, so it's a little different than this. So we receive, and this is public knowledge also. So we receive 70%, and the city receives 30%.
Thank you. How do property owners, residents, and their overnight guests obtain parking rights at no cost? How will the business owners be protected from losing customers because of paid parking?
I think we talked about how to get a permit. It's very simple. There's no cost. You can do it online, and then for the first couple of weeks, we'll agree on hours at City Hall to sign people up. In terms of businesses, well, I mean, when you see the turnover of the stalls 5 to 7 times a day, we're talking to the town of Crested Butte also, and a lady commented last night, we had a town council meeting with them, and she was from Breckenridge, and she had a business, and she was very adverse at first to our program, but then she saw the parking spaces start to turn, and then she saw the visitation to her business literally go up 7 times. So it was very cool to hear her talk and say that she she at first was very adverse to the program, but now she loves it. So, and they have a very similar rate structure, a nominal fee initially with an acceleration. So the idea is to allow people to enjoy the town, and then hopefully, you know, when they're finish their dinner or going to the gazebo or whatnot, the rate structure usually will over time get them to move, and then that space available for another customer. So it's been a real, any one of our customers, clients you talk to will speak very positively of that.
Thank you. The internet connectivity cost, yes, would be covered by the interstate.
Correct. All the kiosks are cellular powered, or sorry, cellular communication. We've got about 230 of them in Colorado right now. They work great in the snow. They work fantastic basically everywhere. So yeah, that's all covered by us. Everything's covered by us, stated in the agreement and or our presentation.
There's a question, how profitable is this to you as a company?
Honestly, it's pretty hard to see it being overly profitable in that the first 2 hours are free. The third hour is $2. The average stay for a customer in most towns, and we've seen this in Colorado, is in the hour and 3/4 range. So one of the advantages we have is we already have the infrastructure in place due to our growth in Colorado. So we have the ability to finance our startup costs over 10 years. So that's really one of the keys to this. It's really about the program, and yes, we are a private company, but I think if you looked at the rate structure, it's not going to be an overly profitable enterprise.
Let's see.
Angie, I've got one here. We need to come up with a solution for permits for short-term rentals.
Absolutely.
Okay.
The short-term rentals, I think Virgil and I had discussed that a little bit, and they are folks that come from outside of town they're not year-round residents, they're just visiting on a tourism basis. And we were thinking that the short-term rental visitor would not likely be included in the free parking, that they would need to pay for parking if they're downtown.
If they're downtown, but if they're parked in front of where they're staying, then what do we do?
On private property in the driveway or anything like that, they'd be all good to go.
Okay.
And this is Yanni. Would the same be true for guests of residents, like family members that are visiting? They would also have to pay if they were downtown?
Oh, your visitors, basically, if there's an issue, if you get a ticket that you shouldn't have gotten, you just reach out to the 1-800 number, and they'll take care of it. Or you can shoot an email over to us or to the parking company, and they'll take care of that.
But I mean,
and the other thing that we do that you'll love is that you can just phone our ambassador and just say, I'm so and so, I live at da 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 da, and let us know the license plate, and we'll take care of it for you and make sure they don't receive a violation.
Okay, so a family member of a resident, we can get a day pass or a couple day pass just by calling an ambassador or registering online, even though they don't have proof of residence in the town. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, so we know the residents because they'll be registered. So we just check to make sure you're a legitimate resident, and we'll make sure that they do not receive a violation. We do that in a couple towns, and it works really well.
Let me see if I can clarify this a little bit. If you've got guests or family members coming in to visit, you can act as a sponsor to those guests or family members.
Yeah, I mean,
And
that's not, that's something that, obviously it becomes, to date, the way we've done it, it's worked really well. People make a phone call and we take care of it. If it was something that became an abuse where a resident was calling repeatedly, that would be something we'd notify, Virgil about and go from there. But yeah, the idea is in those situations, our ambassadors are really that personal and that available. I mean, we've got 250 spaces to look after, so we'll be able to we'll provide that service for sure.
I have a few questions, if I may.
Sure.
So I didn't see anywhere in here any kind of exhibit on the locations of where these parking areas will be, or any of the locations of these kiosks, things of that nature. I did look at some of your other sites, and they're there's, as you know, there's several criteria: street parking, public parking lots, things like that. Do we have any? Is there any of that developed, or how, like? I didn't see an exhibit for that.
So that's really something where we would walk around with Virgil and whoever else is within the town and go location by location. There's always so many variables. The beauty of these kiosks is they're solar powered, and we've designed metal plates so they're easy to install and move if need be. So generally it's a project with the town and whoever else would like to be involved or should be involved to determine the location of each kiosk.
Well, I would assume that you had some kind of a general idea, because I think you listed there was 8.
Yeah, so we've got 15 kiosks in there right now.
Okay, 15.
Yeah, maximum. But we'll talk to businesses, we'll get your input. There's a lot of variables in locating a kiosk. For example, there could be a delivery truck that comes, or all those things. So we basically our local people come, the same people that are ambassadors, and they install the kiosk, but each kiosk is approved by the town, location and whatnot.
Okay.
What's the Wi-Fi range on each one of those kiosks? Because most people really just don't get any cell signal at all. So I think it mentions how one of the benefits is you can be out on the trail and add more time to your parking, but I don't think that would be realistic because you wouldn't have cell phone ability on the trails.
Yeah, it depends on the trail. Obviously, if you don't have cell phone business, you won't be able to cell phone service. You won't be able to add time, but some of the trails do have service. So yeah, if you do have that ability, and we'll sign that clearly, you can add time.
So I had another question. I saw a mention of a traffic code enforcement officer that was to be hired by the town. Is that correct? Did I read that into your contract?
No, I don't believe so. No.
Okay. And I was kind of looking through the section on termination. And it seems like you have a termination for cause, like for failure to uphold each end, but I don't see any in that. I guess I know there was some talk, people had some ideas that this could be terminated at any time, but I don't see that language in section 2.
Right. The concept is basically that we're investing, in the neighborhood of $200,000 between software, hardware, kiosks, signage, cars, vehicle, all that. You've read the clause and you read it correctly. Both parties, if one party's not happy with the other, we have the ability to notify the other party, and then if it's not rectified, then the other party can cancel. So that's a pretty effective clause. I mean, we've never ever been in that position, and we don't plan to. And that's one of the reasons that I think our agreements work so well is, ultimately the town is making the decisions. So the town is deciding on the hours of operation, the rates, the signage, the permits. So our program is really designed to meet the needs of each user group. So it's a pretty effective agreement.
Right. I was just kind of pointing that out.
Sure. Yeah.
people.
No, you're completely right.
So I was reading in here on section 9 under equipment, the town interstate acknowledge and agree that you will be installing, maintaining, and moving the equipment as set forth in Exhibit B. And I have some questions about that. I do see the listing of things, signage, uniforms, all of that stuff. But it seems I just want to know how it jives with your Exhibit A, which is your operating expenses. Your operating expenses are basically to be deducted from the net revenues.
No, the operating expenses, all those operating expenses that are listed there are our expenses. The net, when it says net revenue, it's just net of credit card fees and transaction fees. So if you go up to the clause with gross revenues in it, it defines net revenue, and basically net revenue is gross revenue less credit card fees and transaction fees, and then the town gets its net for that. So those operating expenses are all ours. That's why they're all stipulated there. The town will continue to have their expenses for existing, line painting, asphalt repairs, snow removal, anything that basically we're doing. We're either providing the capital or the operating costs. They're all listed there.
Okay.
You mentioned signage before. I know that our Parks Rec and Trails Committee had been talking about signage, and I think a lot of it kind of overlaps with some of the signage that would be put in place for this program if it went forward. Is there a plan for recommendations on signage for the town, or do you have anything that's like a little more concrete?
Yeah, so basically, as the agreement states, you have the final approval on all signage. We've developed some pretty cool signage packages over the course of 70 operations. So we'll make recommendations to the town. We pay for all signage, but the ultimate decision on placement and the branding, the size is all determined by the town. So we make recommendations is what we do. Things like QR codes for the trail maps, QR codes for the 2 hours free of parking. They'll be placed on the signage where the town finds it agreeable. The other thing with the QR codes too, that's really cool is that if businesses so choose, they can have the QR codes in their business. So if somebody walks in and says, "Oh, I didn't register for my 2 hours," they can literally do it right there on their phone for their free 2 hours. So yeah, ultimate say goes to the town. We'll make suggestions, but ultimately we always like the town to have the final say because, like you said, you're working on signage for the trailheads, and you're also, you want to make sure the signage works with your wonderful little town.
There will be a signage presentation on the 18th, as I understand it. Margaret, I haven't heard from you tonight.
You know what? Yeah, I'm just taking this in. Most of the things that I've written down that I have questions about have been asked. And I'd just like to clarify one more time. What happens if there's a deficit and there is no net revenue? Does that ever happen?
I hope not, but that's our cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to be clear about that. And I just, you know, the concerns that people have brought up, I think you've answered the questions adequately. As far as the business district, we can mandate that there are no fees if that's what we choose to do. So people need to keep an open mind. And I'm sorry, I'm staring at something right now that I've just got to say. David, shame on you. Maybe we need to ask that what the BOT is getting out of this. When things don't make sense, there's usually a reason. You know, the only thing we're getting out of this is a peace of mind, because we all have jobs and we're very busy too. And I don't know what you're insinuating here, but it's a disappointing statement. And I just would like to comment on that. So, sorry, it was just staring at me right there. So as I was going through. But yeah, Gareth, thank you. The other questions that I've had have already been adequately answered.
So let me reinforce some of the things that have been asked and have been answered, but seem to be very big sticking points. The first 2 hours are free. The third hour is $2. The fourth hour is $2. I spoke with Hiking Bob, who has hiked all of our trails, and he said he's done all of the trails in less than 4 hours. If you're talking $4 total for 4 hours, that's not bad. I pay more than that to go to the reservoir. 2 hours is usually adequate for a restaurant, and that is to, you know, to eat and sit there and enjoy your coffee and then have turnover for someone else to come in. We've had an assurance that we'll figure out how short-term rental parking is going to work, and that this is going to actually help our residents because it will guide people to the proper place to park. A lot of this conversation came about because people were not very happy to find visitors, hikers, who have whoever parked in their driveway all day or blocking the fire hydrant at the end of the road all day. And we have to come up with some solutions. Again, I agree with Margaret. The only thing we get out of this is a lot of conversation, let's say. And one other thing I would like to point out is I really appreciate how loudly people are voicing their concerns. But board, part of our consideration is the people who aren't loudly voicing their concerns, and they're the ones who showed up in surveys and in multiple conversations that we've had outside of this forum, people who are concerned about how many people are jostling for parking in town to where their guests and family just don't feel like anything can be done, and they don't want to be here. And this is coming from people who have lived here a very long time. Let me put this out there again. This is not parking meters. This is not parking meters. And this will direct people to park in the proper places and not in residential streets. Board, do you have anything further?
So this is Diani. I think there are a lot of merits to this program. I could see, we've had a lot of complaints about lack of bathrooms, about lack of, enforcement of illegal parking on residential streets, and, having a little extra revenue and having more manpower to help direct traffic and help address those problems, help us create some of the amenities that I think people would really appreciate and that we all know that we need in town would be really helpful. I think the other big part of it is that we're seeing a lot of increased visitors related to a pandemic, which is sort of an abnormality. And so I do hear the concern about making a huge decision that will have a big impact on the community in the middle of something that was really a little bit of an anomaly. The other big thing that I want people to keep in mind is that we are going to have a major, somewhat major tourist attraction that's likely going to be opening soon. And so we don't know what the impact of that would be. So I do see benefits to this proposal. And I think, having that upfront cost at no cost to the town is very generous. But I do think that this is a big decision. And so, I would like to get more community feedback since this was only really presented with less than a week for people to review.
Yeah, I'd like to echo that as well. I would definitely like to see some idea of where these 250 spaces or whatever number there is, where exactly they are, what we're looking at. I think that would provide a lot of clarity, especially for the residents who this is like in the dark. We really don't know where this parking will be, what it's going to look like. How is that going to affect someone parking on a residential street? I'm just trying to understand how that's going to solve that problem other than give them a ticket, maybe. But, I would like to see a little more behind this, because I think there's still a lot of work to be done as far as laying out the plan, getting all of these things in line. And I don't see any reason to rush, getting this in place before, the town internally has an idea of what we would like to see. And then we can partner, with this vendor if that's the position that we want to take and move forward. I don't like to enter a contract where I don't even know where that kiosk is going to go. I don't know where the parking is going to be delineated. I really don't have a clear idea what that looks like yet. I understand the contract. I understand the generosity of, getting it up and started, but I just, to be honest, there's only a few businesses in this town. For turnover, I wouldn't want to discourage it.
Well, one thing about turnover with the trails, right now we only have speculation about what the trails bring financially to town. This at least would give us some concrete idea of how many people we actually have go through town to hike. That's a whole other question.
Other thing that I'd like to bring up is that, we have our PRT committee that is putting together some recommendations for both the Trail Ambassador program, the kiosk for the ambassadors, and also recommendations about signage. And it does sound like there is some funding available to implement some signage based on the grant that we got to do that signage project. And so none of that has been implemented yet. It would be nice to see where that makes an impact with tourism, given all the concerns, and especially given that, it sounded like we were really anticipating a huge influx of people and felt like the need to really get ahead of this. But if a parking program can be implemented in 2 weeks, I think that there's not as much of a rush from at least my perspective to try and move forward with something without getting more information.
Yeah, this is Gareth. It really is a flexible solution. And when you talk about the kiosks, you really have to, before we place them, we'll make sure everybody's good with it. The 250 spaces, those are determined by the town. The town makes the decision on everything: the signage, the kiosks, the rates, the location of the signage, the hours of operation. So it really is a consultative process where the town has the ultimate say on what we do and how we do it.
And a multi-step process too. So the contract would be the first step in the process, and then deciding where the kiosks go, where the signage goes. That's all part of the contract.
May I interject, Madam Mayor?
Please.
There seems to be some disconnect between the 250 and 400 parking spaces that I'm quite honestly not sure where that number came from. But
I can shed light on that when you're ready.
I did a I did a drive-by count estimate survey and came up with about the 250. That was the public parking spaces, not including green box, either of their parking lots, but the ones that were maintained by the town. And that's where that number came from.
The additional spaces come from, there's the Joyland parking lot. They've agreed to be a part of the program as part of the annexation. There's also another lot over on El Paso Avenue there that would be a part of this. And the church also is interested in participating in the program. So that's where the 400 spaces came from. But those are separate contracts that would have to be negotiated directly with those private property owners. They are interested in doing so. That's just another phase of the project, another step.
Mayor Newberry, are we entertaining public comment in this section still?
We had been having board conversation. I will entertain brief comment, but let me reiterate, if we are hearing the same comments we already heard in public comment, just please say that you agree with that. Similarly, I'm not going to entertain arguments.
Mike Frey would like to speak.
Mike, you may speak, please.
We just want to express that we agree with all the folks that have spoken against this. I'm wondering what the objective is for this project. Does the Board of Trustees, have you stated clearly what your objective is for this? And could you refresh my memory?
All right, Mike, thank you. Correct me if I'm wrong here. But as I recall, what we have talked about is we need to manage parking for the town. When we started this discussion, we weren't talking about in terms of revenue. In fact, I was rather surprised there would be much, if any, revenue involved at all. Now, the revenue would be nice because we certainly have a lot of projects that need to be done. And with a small town that is pretty landlocked and it's pretty financially locked in a lot of ways, we don't always have an opportunity for revenue except for raising taxes, raising the mill levy, and none of us want this. You know, the parking plan is in the comprehensive plan as a top 10 priority to take care of the town, to try to give some ideas of how to better take care of the town. I'm personally still a little stumped as to why 2 hours free and then 2 more hours at $2 a piece for $4 for a total of 4 hours is so bad. I'm at a loss personally for that. Additionally, there isn't anything ugly going up, such as parking meters. We've discussed at length, including in the comp plan, about ways to help visitors pay for using our resources. Because right now, we do have hikers come to town. They do use our roads, they use our trails. They use the bathrooms to the point where sometimes they become unusable because they're being loved to death. When we built that bathroom in Gazebo Park, as I've said before, it wasn't for the influx of people. Prior to COVID, we had had a huge increase because Waldo Canyon shut down and we got those hikers. And then last year, and sometimes in between, the incline is shut down and we get those hikers. The hikers don't pay taxes either, the people who come here. So how do we spread that out just a bit? And that is what triggered this whole conversation. Margaret, do you have anything?
Jane, I had a question.
Yes, Chris.
Now I see where I saw it. So in the ordinance that is attached with this, there is section 2.310 creation. There's created a position of special code enforcement officer. All special code enforcement officers shall be hired or designated as special code enforcement officer by the town manager. Maybe employees, agents, or independent contractors, blah, blah, blah. So that, I guess, is what I was referring to earlier, and I apologize, Gareth. I saw
No
it in
problem.
your document.
Yeah, no problem.
So would this be a new position that would need to be created for the purpose of managing parking?
I think that's if it becomes financially feasible. That's part of the proposition to help ensure residential parking is being used for residents.
Is that not within the scope of the contract with gas company?
I can't answer.
I was kind of under the understanding that they'd be issuing parking tickets for these instances where they're outside of these designated parking. Is that how it
Yeah.
works?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So our ambassadors would issue violations for, if people are parked in a loading zone or in front of a fire hydrant or on a street corner or whatnot. It's really predicated by the town which areas they want us to take care of in terms of compliance. But we do have that ability.
So any of those, so if you were to issue a citation for someone parking, say, on the side of the road where they shouldn't be, typically that kind of citation would be handled through Virgil, yes?
Correct.
So with yours being written, would you be representing the town on that under our?
That's really
How does that work, Virgil?
yeah, that's really up to the town in terms of how you write the code. So every municipality makes a different decision on that. We do have the ability to do it, but that's the decision of the town and how they write the code.
Virgil, do we have a decision on that?
Trustee Quinn, there is a difference between a criminal citation, which is what I write, and a civil citation. Okay, a civil citation is more of a, I don't know, kind of a white bread thing, whereas when I issue a criminal citation, it's more of a wheat bread thing. Civil citations can be adjudicated through the court, and if not paid, then liens and things like that can be assessed. Criminal citations are ones that, if not adjudicated through the courts, warrants can be issued and along those lines.
Right.
So basically what it amounts up to is the fine gets paid either way, either in a pound of flesh or in a pound of money, for lack of a better term.
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, are they going to be enforcing our ordinances or whatever?
Well, that's something that we have to talk to them about, and we have to run down the lines. But as far as parking, the only things that they honestly can enforce is parking on the streets, parking across driveways, parking across in front of fire hydrants and stuff like that. Because parking on your own property will in no way, no time, no how be illegal.
Right. Right.
Even with or without a permit. You
Yeah.
park on your own property with or without a permit, you are perfectly fine because that's your property.
Sure. I'm just trying to understand how that would all function if they didn't pay it, or wanted to
Okay.
contest it, saying you can't write me a ticket for that or what have you. I don't know how, you know.
Let's take, for example, the end of Belvedere, where there's no parking posted all the way around. If they find somebody parked up there, they will enforce it. They will write the citation, the summons, whatever you want to call it. And that's exactly what I would do.
So
Except
they're gonna be doing the same thing that you would be doing.
to an extent, during the time that they work. I'll be doing it the rest of the time as I always have.
Oh, I get
And
it.
if I might chime in here, this is Angie. So they wouldn't be issuing any sort of violation. They'd be issuing a warning that would be required to be certified and basically like sworn in by either Virgil or the town clerk. And we're working those details out yet as to who would be doing that. But they're not working as agents of the town in that capacity. It's not an officer. It's a parking ambassador, a smile ambassador, I think is what they're called. And they would be in the residential streets as well as in the parking areas to enforce the parking rules that we as a community decide to set forth.
Right, so a ticket from one of these guys would be different than a ticket from Virgil.
It is until Virgil certifies it.
And it is a different ticket than what I would write, because that goes through town court.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm getting, like, under whose authority are they writing this? And I think that, you know, that again, that seems like another thing that needs to be kind of worked out before we.
Gareth,
I'm just trying to understand how all that would work.
Yeah, so we do this at all 70 of our locations. We write citations. So we do have the right to do so through the code. And I know Angie's working through the code.
Would that be through the local code then? We'd have to do some amendment to our code.
Yeah, I know Angie's been working on the code there.
There's an ordinance included
yeah.
in this managed parking proposal
Right.
that would make that official. And then we're also doing a Muni code overhaul right now. So this is all part of that, Trustee
Would
Quinn.
would that ordinance be the 2105?
Yes.
So that is the ordinance that does state that the town will be creating a special code enforcement officer.
So that's if we have it in the budget down the line,
I don't
and if
see
we would
that.
need that position.
I don't see that in here. It says you will.
Well, we certainly can't hire anyone unless the board has approved the budget to pay that person and their benefits. So.
Well, understood. Okay.
We can.
The impression, this is Margaret, the impression that I'm getting from reading this ordinance is that what we're doing is we're stating that we will have the ability to authorize someone. It doesn't say we're going to do it this very minute, but what this is this is going to set it up for the future. So when we feel like we get to that point that we need to do something, that we'll have everything, we'll have all the ducks in a row already. And we'll be able to authorize that officer as needed. That's my interpretation of reading this.
Yeah, it's the intent of the Board of Trustees, this ordinance authorize special code enforcement officers of the town to issue summonses and citations and violations of town's parking regulations.
So it would be, this is the ordinance that authorizes them to go out and write citations. And just like what Margaret said.
So this is intended to cover the employees that Gareth is talking about?
Well, we have to by ordinance authorize them to do their job so that those citations are valid. And then those citations would then go to either the clerk or to Virgil and for certification and to be sworn in, and they would be just like any other ticket that you get at that point.
And these would be the same ambassadors, or are these different people?
It would be the ambassadors, the SMILE ambassadors.
So they would be, SMILE
Writing the
ambassador would be
citations.
authorized to enforce our parking code.
Yes. They would be authorized to write
Yeah,
citations.
that's what we do at,
Virgil could then,
I'm starting to get the picture. So, and then those ambassadors' salaries and whatnot, and training and all that stuff is all covered under the vendor.
correct.
Trustee Quinn, the ambassadors that would be hired under this proposal would be all trained, everything furnished by Interstate. The ordinance is simply allowing them, like, I mean, even if we hired a codes officer, which I pray and hope happens sometime,
Right.
if we were to hire a codes officer, they would be invested with the same powers that Interstate would in relation only to parking.
Right. Yeah, I'm starting to get the picture.
Okay.
Yeah, and we do this in 70 locations across Colorado, so we have a whole process for adjudication. It can all be done online, so it's a pretty thorough process and pretty tested.
All right, I think we have gone through a whole lot of questions here. So board, basically the question that we need to discuss at this hour, as it is getting late, are you willing to vote on this tonight? Or do you want a continuance to the May 18th meeting, at which time we will make a decision?
Well, I'd like to see a continuance. And if we could get just a little more information to review, like what Chris brought up, so that we could have a good idea of where the parking spaces are. I'm sure we've got a map that's highlighted somewhere, but just to have access to that so that we could have a better overview.
Yeah, Margaret, I went and looked at like Idaho Springs, for example, and they have a very detailed map of all the different zones and things like that. And I would think we would have, we'd want to have something like that in place, to look at.
Right, I agree. I mean, we even have that for the parking lot at my work so that the students know where they can park and where they can't park. So I think that would be something that would be beneficial to help us. Is it in here somewhere and we just missed it?
No, that was a work in progress kind of thing.
Also the short-term rental question.
I apologize, I'm trying to keep up with the chat. Was that a question for me?
No, I think we were just listing the things that we want to see continued to the next meeting. Margaret, was that a motion?
Yes, I can make that a motion. I would like to continue this discussion and decision-making process to our next meeting, pending just a little further information that the board has requested.
There is a motion on the table. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Board, is there any further discussion?
Just that I would like also to see some more clarification on what the plan is for signage from the company's end.
Okay, and I think since we are going to be having a signage presentation on the 18th from that group, perhaps those two things can work together if they can't work ahead of time together. Because I think we all want the same things there. All right, if that is, pardon me?
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes.
May I? I've been sitting on the signage discussions along with Jesse and Julia and a number of other people, Todd and everybody involved. And that is one thing that would be very beneficial because we don't want to overdo signage. We want it to mesh together instead of being, I don't know, in opposition to each other or redundant. So
Would it be possible for your group to work with Interstate before then?
yes,
So we-
I have talked to the signage committee, or well, Jesse, who's kind of taking the lead on it, and that's something that's very doable.
Yeah, it's Gareth here from Interstate. Yeah, I mean, we're open to your recommendations. Obviously, we wanted to meet your whatever you've been working on. So, the town has the final say on it, and we'll definitely work with you on that.
Perfect. That's what I want to see is us all working together. I think we've made a lot of progress. And I think we just want a few things clarified that should be fairly simple. Nothing too earth shaking. With that, board, the motion before us is a continuance to have this on a May 18th meeting, which also means you're obligated to come to the May 18th meeting. All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 And that motion passes. Also, I would like very much to see Catherine at that meeting because I think she will bring more perspective to that. So let's continue that to the 18th. Gareth, Jessica, I thank you for your time. We're going to continue to discuss this, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank all of you.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
All right, the next item on the agenda is correspondence, which, as you have seen, is a press release. Town Hall will be opening after the COVID closures, and that will be opening on May 31st. I got a little distracted here. And I'm very much looking forward to that town hall opening. We'll be having some kind of hybrid meetings, but it'll be nice to get back to somewhat normal. Next item on the agenda is trustee reports. Margaret, do you have a report?
Nothing to report this week.
All right. Chris, do you have a report?
I do not. I would just say that, to everyone on this meeting, get out there, and if you guys have anything to say about this, please submit your comments. We have a little time to work on this and get it to something, we can act on, and any input we can get would be helpful.
All right. Deanne, do you have a report?
I just want to just put out some kudos to the PRT committee and the signage group. And, they're doing a lot of work. There's a lot of issues on the table related to signage, related to trails, and they're definitely pulling their weight when working on those issues. So just to let everyone know that they're actively working on trying to come up with some recommendations for a lot of these issues. And then I just want to put a big thank you to Nancy Dixon. She is doing a lot of the work as our volunteer coordinator for the Trail Ambassadors this year. So I just want to put a plug in for our Trail Ambassador orientation. We're trying to recruit people. So anyone who wants to volunteer, please just, message Town Hall. You can message me, message Nancy. We're having an orientation on Sunday, May 16th. And she's just requesting that we get RSVPs in by the 9th. But she's doing a fabulous job, so thank you so much.
All right, and thank you. I will save some remarks until the end. Committee reports. There's a fire mitigation update from Chair David Douglas. David, did you want to present this?
Yes. Sorry, it took me a minute to find my unmute button. Matt, are you driving the presentation?
Yes, sir. Just
Would
let
you
me know
drop
when.
down to slide 118? That one right there. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the reason I wanted to address the Board of Trustees tonight on this issue is in response to Margaret Peterson's question last meeting, which was what is the status of the fuels mitigation project that was approved by the board last year and funded. So this slide shows the area of above. Actually, it's actually should be showing above the Thomas Trail, but there's about 8.9 acres in there in total. This is city-owned property. We entered into an agreement with CUSP to mitigate about 5 acres of that, almost 9 acres. And if you will drop down a couple of slides again, Matt, go down to like 120, I think. Yeah, there we go. That yellow box there roughly represents the area that the mitigation work is being done. The amount of money that was approved by the board was $5,000 to remediate the 5 acres. Of the 5 acres, only 1.25 acres is left to be done and is currently being worked by CUSP. And as soon as they're complete, they'll be issuing an invoice to the city for our portion of that. Okay, keep scrolling down, if you will, Matt. Okay, okay, right there, 122. No, go up one more, Matt. There we go. So that is basically a photograph from across the mountain. In the red circle there is the area that is and has been mitigated, and you can see the difference in how thinned out the trees are in that area. And I've got to tell y'all, our forest is in horrible condition. We have lots of diseased trees, dying trees, dead trees that pose a tremendous fire hazard for Green Mountain Falls. So all of these efforts are incredibly important. Unfortunately, we've got so many people who are interested in this and want to participate. So if you will slide down a couple of more, right there, hold on, up 124, there you go. So those 2 red circles actually represent residents of Green Mountain Falls remediating their own property, expanding their defensible space, nuisance tree removal. And if I'm not mistaken, that's the Scott Usman property and his neighbors that have taken that on. It's been a pretty significant project that it was completed not long ago. And then finally, if we'll scroll down just a couple of more to this one right here. So this is our next area of focus, and it is a real, it's a hot spot that we need to deal with before the end of this year. This area we've referred to as either Scott Avenue or the Iona project, but this is a combination of town-owned land and privately owned land that comes down from Hondo all the way down to Belvedere. Scroll down one more, Matt. That is a photograph of what the area looks like. You can see how many dead trees there are there, and there are diseased trees, and the spread of the disease is continuing. So we want to remediate that as quickly as possible. So we will be putting together a budget for presentation to the board in the very near future. We're trying right now to get it put together for the next Board of Trustees meeting in June. Not sure we can get there, but that's our goal. Scroll down one more, Matt. So anyway, you know, we approved 16,000, or the Board of Trustees approved 16,500 for continued mitigation in 21, and we're working on matching grants with CUSP and other organizations to maximize that to the best of our ability. So more to come. Just wanted to give you all an update.
All
David,
right.
thank you so much for the concise report. Thank you. We really
You're welcome.
appreciate you following up with that.
No problem. Happy to do it.
I would also really encourage you, as we all know, CUSP are such great people. And I know they will come back and give a talk to our summer residents or anyone about mitigating their own property, and also the financial help they can wrestle up for homeowners. And I know we've done that before, but it never hurts to keep putting that word out publicly. And you know, if we could organize a town meeting for that, if we can meet in person again, or if it needs to be a Zoom meeting, I'd really encourage that education to just continue. People only hear what they want to hear, so it doesn't hurt to keep putting that out there.
Well, thanks. We have I guess a four-legged stool. One is notification and education, and then fuels mitigation, and education. So notification and evacuation, education, fuels mitigation, and grants. So all four of those are being worked simultaneously right now. We are developing the education side, which will be exactly what you're talking about, Jane. And you'll be delighted to know that Adrian McKnight with CUSP attends every one of our FMC meetings.
That's great.
So they are very plugged in and engaged with us.
Adrian is a great resource, and I just really appreciate all the work that comes through CUSP. But I'm glad you have those channels open. And it's one of those things that strike while iron's hot, because when summer people are here, they hear you. You know, when they're not here, sometimes it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And financially, there's a lot of grants out there for towns and for governments. There's not always a lot of help for homeowners. So we need to be creative and thoughtful and see what we can do, because removing trees is an expensive proposition.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, appreciate
I just wanted to tack on to David's presentation real quick too, that fire mitigation is actively recruiting for a member. So if you're interested in serving on the fire mitigation committee, please submit a committee volunteer application to me, and I'll get it in front of the fire mitigation committee to get you involved. Just say the word.
That is wonderful. That's how this should work. All right. Again, David, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Staff reports. Matt, do you have a report?
I just have two things for this evening. Sorry about the darkness. My cat chewed on the cord for my lamp in this room, and it is dead. So I am in the dark. Number one is I've been under the weather since Saturday, and I haven't been in the office Monday or Tuesday. So many apologies if you've been looking to get a hold of me. I haven't been available. I'll be in the office tomorrow catching up on emails and phone calls, and we'll get back to you then. The other thing that I wanted to touch on actually was the FMC, and it just felt like a good time to jump in at the end of David's presentation. That's all I got.
That's good. Feel better. Get a new lamp.
Yes, hopefully the get better first over the lamp thing.
Yes, probably a priority. All right. Virgil, do you have a report?
I really don't have anything other than just I'm fat, dumb, and happy. And I've got a new deputy.
And you got a new deputy. That's a good thing. All right. Angie?
I just want to thank everybody for participating tonight. And, you know, I just want to throw out there for the public that parking challenges, the challenges that we faced are years in the making, and they'll never go away, but they'll evolve and grow. And I feel like we did a lot of evolving and growing tonight, and there's good information was shared, input was shared. And, you know, it's okay to disagree, and through conflict comes resolution, and we'll find what in the long run, and with all of this, what is best for our community. And I think that's the most important thing. It's really great that we're working together and that we're moving forward in the direction that's right for us. So that's all. I just wanted to throw that out there and say thanks for participating. And we're really excited about the reopening on the 31st. Also, we do have high risk people that are working at the town, high risk for COVID, developing severe COVID. So we have learned a lot, and that we can do a lot of stuff online, and very efficiently online or over the phone and email. So if you are high risk, we certainly don't want to, you know, risk spreading stuff. We can still utilize those tools and resources that we've learned so much about in this last year. And we're looking for a front desk person, an administrative assistant. So if anybody's interested, please send them our way. And thanks for your time.
All right, thank you. Let me answer a few questions that floated out there during the course of conversation. And these two things kind of go together. Judith asked if we could vote in secret. And I understand the want to do that because people sometimes don't want to express their opinion for fear of being, oh, who knows, mocked or shot down or something else. And in government, that's not how it works. We vote, and we only vote publicly. Even when we discuss personnel matters, which are executive session and they're discussed in private, any votes that happen are voted in the public. And so that is something that as an elected official, you learn and you grow and you learn to express your opinions freely. That being said, as mayor, I facilitate meetings and I run meetings, but I don't make all the decisions on my own. This is not a strong mayor system. This is a system where every member of the board and me, we all have equal votes. So if it ever looks like I'm making all the decisions, what I'm doing is I'm facilitating. Sometimes I'm pushing towards coming to a resolution. In government and in business, a lot of us see some of the best ideas in the world fall victim to analysis paralysis. And by that, I mean we just analyze things to death without ever coming to a resolution. And part of what I do is, for good or for ill, sometimes I push to make things get decided. That's an important role, and it's a role that you have to learn and grow into. I too want to thank everyone who participated. We heard certainly voices who are compassionate about the town and love the town. And as board members, we also have to represent the people who are just as compassionate, but for whatever reason are quiet, and they aren't going to come out publicly, but they may speak to us and they may participate in letter writing or in surveys. And we take everyone's opinions into consideration. The board isn't compensated in any way for being on the board. This is purely volunteer, as all of our volunteers are. And I don't know anyone who's ever served for the town that treats this lightly. I mean, people take this very seriously. And I mean, people I have agreed with and people I have disagreed with strongly. we all have the same passion for trying to do the right thing for the town. That doesn't mean we're always going to agree. That doesn't mean you're always going to agree with me. I tend to get to be the point person for the finger pointing and being the representation of evil for people who don't appreciate some things that are decided. But for good or for evil, we take this seriously and we seriously try to do the right thing for the town. The boards do, all of the boards, all of the committees, and the town employees do as well. And I appreciate their work very much, and I appreciate the time and the effort they put in every day. And with that, I thank you, and we will adjourn
Jane,
this
can I
meeting.
say one other thing?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, but I just want to remind everyone that we have that special meeting on Thursday evening. And right there, it's a training, it's a learning, it's understanding what the rules and regulations are and what the statutes are that we have to follow. So anybody, even if you're not on a board, if you want to just sit in to just increase your knowledge base, but it is mandatory for anyone that's serving on a board. So I just want to remind everybody to not forget about Thursday evening. That's the purpose of that meeting.
Thank you. That's a great reminder. It is open to the public and everyone is welcome. Thanks, Margaret. With that, if there's nothing further from anyone, we'll adjourn. It's 9:14.
That's good.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.